G'day and welcome to another edition of the Rev Up brought to you by CrowCast. Joining me as usual is my troublesome son, Cameron. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Had a good week?
No, not really.
How's the leg?
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah. How many minutes?
10.
10 minutes.
And 3 of them were on the bench.
And
Came off my first rotation, straight back on, and then
Ping. Never mind. Go and see Steve Saunders. You'll be back in a week. Just ask Rory Sloane.
Yeah, do I get a discount through the CrowCast?
Yeah, through the CrowCast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, today we're covering the must-win, pivotal, season-defining.
Is it? Is it pivotal, is it?
I believe so.
Oh, the team we picked doesn't say so.
Game against Greater Western Sydney at Adelaide Oval Saturday night, obviously. And fair bit to talk about. Before we get there, what did you think about last week's come-from-behind robbery?
Well, it was exactly that, wasn't it? We didn't deserve to win that. And I think everyone knows it. Anyone that watched the game, anyone that played in the game would know that we didn't deserve to win it. Granted, you've still got to get into a position where you can steal it, but let's be honest. Barring a shot at the death, which, can go either way. That's a 50-50. We didn't deserve to be that close. And they kicked 1 goal 8 in that last quarter.
Yep.
And 3 goals 12 in that last half.
Yeah.
They lost that game. We didn't win it.
Yeah. We did kick 9 goals to 3 after half-time, but scoring shots were still, I think, 15-12 Melbourne's way.
So, and look, we did pick it up after half-time, 100%. But Melbourne didn't really drop off. They just stopped kicking goals.
Yeah, I think they did. I felt they went into their shells a little bit, Melbourne. Third quarter was really an arm wrestle.
I think we just negated them a bit better.
Yeah.
We were just giving them free run in the first half, whereas second half, I don't think we did that as much.
Well, and a lot of that was due to one particular player who won't be with us this week.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah. What did you think of said player and also JJ's return?
Look, I thought Bryce did what was asked of him. He had a good first quarter, got a bit of the ball.
10
and then
touches in the first quarter.
Yep. And then was asked to do a job when Sloaney went down
Clay.
and did it.
Yeah, I thought so
Did
too.
the job.
Well, even Pikey come out and said he was happy with it.
Yeah. And as far as Jenkins, I wasn't unhappy with his game. I felt like we got a couple of things out of him that we haven't been getting out of the Berg over the last couple of weeks. And, he's always going to have his deficiencies in my eyes, but I think he played at a good capacity and a good intensity. So,
and that's the key with Josh, the intensity. And look, he didn't quite kick the bag like I thought he was going to, but considering we had, well, not horrible, but it was pretty close to it, ball movement all night, shallow entries, and just confusion moving the ball. I actually thought he found a way to impact. Especially that goal that he got us going with as well. And you're right, we wouldn't have got that from the Berg.
No.
But he needs to continue on.
Yes, absolutely.
I hope he hasn't inflated his head so big that he can't get through the door after that.
And that's a bit of an issue with a couple of our players.
It is.
And Jenkins is one of them.
And I don't mind that, but you got to back it up. Let it fill you up so that you go out and perform. Don't fill it up and let it lure you into a false sense of security.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and if Josh is, going to just put blokes on his back and kick goals kick goals anyway. That was funny. Yeah, kick goals like that. I'm all for it. Keep doing that. And he was actually taking grabs and imposing himself on the contest in the air, which we need because no one else is going to do it down there. Tex seems to be reluctant still. So
yeah.
But anyway, that was last week.
And tough stretch. This one and then Richmond in 5 days' time afterwards. And you wonder whether that's actually impacted selection. So let's have a look at the team, shall we?
Yeah.
You want to start off with... I'll start off with the Giants. From the backs, we have Zach Williams coming in for Lockie Whitfield. Sam Taylor, Heath Shaw. Halfbacks, Adam Kennedy, Phil Davis, and Nick Haynes. I like Phil.
Yeah, me
I
too.
wish he was still with us.
Yeah, it's hard to hate him, isn't it?
Yeah. Centerline, Delidio, Kelly, and the... Velvet Glove De Boer. Who do you reckon? De Boer will get a job, I reckon.
One that played for Centrals?
No.
Who's the one I'm thinking of? I swear there was a bloke that used to play for Centrals. No, don't know.
No. Matt De Boer used to play for Fremantle.
Yeah, I knew that, but I thought he was a Centrals boy.
No, Shannon Hearn was Centrals boy.
No.
Oh, let's get on with it. Adam Tomlinson, the Crows' next recruit Harry Himmelberg and Harry Perryman across half forward, and a full forward line, Brent Daniels, Jeremy Cameron in good nick, and Toby Green, who always gets us.
Yeah, well, he's been a bit down as well, so hopefully he doesn't play himself into some form against us.
You know, that's what happens, isn't it? Rucking is the big mummy, who's
Bad
just
boy.
been an absolute monster of late. Caniglio, who I would rate as probably the form midfielder of the competition, despite his finger injury at the moment.
Yeah,
And
there's probably a couple of others in that category, I reckon, but
I'm a big fan.
yeah, he's right up there, 100%.
Yeah, and Jacob Hopper. Interchange, Isaac Cumming, Tim Ter-
Got it in there every week. I've got one.
Family show. Plus, I'm your dad. Come on.
Fucking who cares? Come
Tim Taranto, who I also really rate.
Good inside midfielder,
yeah.
Taranto.
Would have loved to have got him at that draft.
Yep.
Sam J. Reid and Jeremy Finlayson.
Is the J a bit unnecessary? There's no another Sam Reid playing in the team.
Well, there's another Sam Reid in the competition.
Yeah, but he's not playing. It's a bit unnecessary, I think. Overly flamboyant.
So who we got for the Crows?
What about their emergencies, mate? What about who's
Who
in, who's
cares?
out?
Well, the ins and outs, Zach Williams and Sam Taylor come in. Lockie Keefe is omitted, and Lockie Whitfield
Massive out for them.
is a big out for them.
Been in some really good form.
Yeah, and a bit of an indicator in terms of their win-loss too, when he's playing well.
I mean, look, they lose Whitfield and they get Zach Williams. So, like, you know, they wouldn't be too upset. If you wanted anyone to come in for Whitfield, Williams would be all right. And you've still got Heath Shaw back there, and Kennedy's a bit of a rebounder as well. So,
But Whitfield's quality.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter much, to be honest. But anyway.
Let's move.
Moving on. So, start from the fullback line. We've got Brownie, Talia, who had a freaking stinker last week, and then Kyle Hartigan's back in. We've got half-back line with Smith, Keith, and Millerer. Centre line, we have Atkins and Douglas coming in. Supposed to be playing forward, but has been named in the guts. Figure that out. And then Gallucci on the other wing. Brad Crouch has been named at half forward with Tex and Lynch. Full forward line, we have Murphy, JJ, and Betts. Following, we have Riley O'Brien, Matt Crouch, and Sloan. Apparently, that hamstring was like a half a grade, not even a full 1 grade.
What even a hamstring? It was a fingernail.
Well, did they just sort of go, oh, that's a bit of a strain, we're getting pumped, we'll just put him in the rack for next week? Because that's what it seemed like. I don't know. It seems a bit odd that he's playing. I kind of hope that it really is something quite minor and that he doesn't do more damage.
Laid out is my prediction.
You reckon?
Yeah. He's still got to pass the test.
Yeah.
Still got to pass the test tomorrow, like Saturday morning. So by the time this actually goes to air, he might already be out.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway.
And then interchange, we have Jake Kelly, who I thought was actually pretty good last week.
Okay.
All right, good. I'm glad you agree. Paul Seedsman, who I think is a bit lucky to be there, looks underdone a bit still. And then you've got Cam Yeoman and Rory Laird rounding out the bench. Our emergencies, and all of these blokes have been dropped. Greenwood, Gibbs, and D-Mac, and then Saucy as well, who was obviously coming back from injury. Had a big game in the twos, though. So 20 touches, 5 goals. What else do you want a ruckman to do?
I don't know.
We'll talk about selection now.
Yeah.
All I've written on our little run sheet that we've got on the floor here is what the actual fuck. Because I don't actually have any other words to describe the thinking and the players that we've dropped. I don't understand how you can come out and say that on Hugh Greenwood's form that he deserves to be dropped when you've got a bloke like Atkins in the team. I don't understand how you can praise Bryce Gibbs in the media for doing a job on Clayton Ollier and then fucking drop him the next week. I don't know how D-Mac comes back from sickness, supposedly being okay, goes up to Darwin, which is, you know, always a hard game because it's so hot and humid, looked to struggle and looked like he wasn't quite ready, and then only to drop him again. What was the fucking point of even bringing him in the first place? Should have given him a week off. And then, you know, Jacobs has an absolute blinder in the twos, and then we don't pick him, and we're going to let Riley O'Brien go get mauled by Shane Munford.
Well, I actually fear for Riley O'Brien's life this week.
Mummy is... And look, I'm not discounting O'Brien because he's going to give it a crack.
But yeah, absolutely.
O'Brien is sort of like what Big E's did. He's sort of peaked, and he's just starting to come back down again because you've noticed that especially his... second efforts on the ground when the ball hits the deck after the first contest with the tap. There's
just tailing off a bit.
Yeah. Whereas one of the biggest strengths that he had, I felt, when he first came into the team is even though he wasn't winning all of the taps, he was going and getting the agate when it hit the deck. And you can tell when a player is starting to get a bit weary when those sorts of things start to fall out of the game a bit.
Yeah.
And I just think that playing against Mumford. Mumford's just going to beat him up. Mumford to be going like this.
Well, the thing that we've seen about O'Brien is that at key moments of games, he's been monstered by experienced big ruckman.
And
Paddy Ryder got hold of him.
Gorn
got hold of him. He's a kid.
And look, the funny thing is, he actually won the hit-outs last week.
Yeah.
But around the ground, Gorn went to work. He did fight back, however, but I thought early on, especially Gorn just
I felt
destroyed
O'Brien's last quarter was really good.
Yep, but you're right. And that's fine, but he's got 10-minute period of a quarter or an entire quarter where he just gets smacked, and it's really, really costly. And Mummy's not a great tap ruckman. He's good. He's a bit old and he's had some time away from the game and whatever, but he's still a bully and he's a big man. And Riley O'Brien, we always talk about, a bit undersized for a ruckman. Mummy isn't.
No.
He's going to be...
Mummy's chest is probably about as wide as Riley is high.
It's like a runway.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
He's a bit of a hothead as well, so he doesn't mind dishing a bit of punishment.
Well, and he has been dishing out punishment.
He's been playing on the edge. I think boxing has turned him into a bit of a Barry Hall wannabe. But, he's... I think he's probably going to go after... Look, if I was Shane Mumford and I played the way that Mummy does, I'd be going after Riley O'Brien. He's a kid. He's a bit undersized.
Well, why wouldn't you?
That's how I'm going to beat him, is I'm going to beat him up.
And the thing about that is that if that does happen and you give this gold-plated midfield of GWS's first use... Anyway, my biggest issue with the Crows selection is that we have pretty much a full list of healthy players. The only player that's not healthy is Tommy.
Do-day, yeah. Do-day.
And apparently...
Hey, if I don't laugh, I'll cry.
Apparently, this is our best 22.
Well, supposedly.
So our best 22 against the form team of the competition includes Richard Douglas. It includes Rory Atkins. It includes an underdone Matt Crouch, and we all know that Matt takes a week or two to get back up to speed.
Well, I don't mind bringing Matt back in because you've got to get him fit again. I get that. But what's wrong
That's
with
why we've got seconds.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Why not just give him a week in the twos? We've given everyone else a week in the twos.
Yeah. I can't work it out. I don't understand why a bloke like Richard Douglas, who has a career average of about 13 to 15 disposals, who we know what we're going to get from Richard Douglas.
Yep.
We're going to get patchy, in out, poor defensive running, low tackling pressure. That's what we're going to get. That's what his career tells us, right? He's 32. He's 31, 32 years old.
Coming back from injury.
And yes, he had a good game in the twos last week, but so he bloody should. He's a 300-game player almost.
Yeah.
So he should pick up 30 positive. Sam Jacobs kicked 5 goals in the twos. He didn't get a run.
Yeah. Well, 5 goals and 20 touches as a ruckman.
Yeah. So he doesn't get a run. So that's not a valid excuse.
The reason that I'm pissed off, and everyone probably watching would be feeling the same, is that Ben Hart comes out and says that we lack pace on the outside, which is why we drop the likes of Greenwood and Gibbs. But then we bring in Douglas to replace them, and Matt Crouch. And Matt Crouch, good player, but he's an inside midfielder. You bring in Richard Douglas, was a good player, but when he was at the peak of his powers, was an inside midfielder.
And now we're going to use him as a half-forward flanker anyway.
So what the fuck was the point? You're better off leaving him out, leaving Greenwood in the forward line, and if you're not going to play Greenwood in midfield, fine, play him as the Mitch McGovern role that we've been missing. And
it's interesting that the Crows are saying through Ben Hart that they felt they were a bit top-heavy in the midfield.
What the fuck did Ben Hart know? He's a fucking defender being a forward coach.
Well, our record with both Hugh Greenwood and CUI in the team is 4-1. And our record without both of those playing is 1-4. So, who knows?
There you go. Podcast over.
Well, the thing of it is, what I'm struggling to see is the plan. What is the plan to beat GWS? And I guess that leads into our next discussion. So let's have a look at the matchup zone by zone, shall we?
No, I don't want to.
So, mate, how do you reckon we zone up? How do you reckon we match up?
I don't know.
You're really down this week, aren't you?
Flat as fuck.
You're usually up and about. You're usually the one that's giving me a hard time for being negative, etc. But it's really knocked you about. It's hit you personally, hasn't it?
It has. I've had a long week as well. My Saturday was not good. And then I went home going, at least the Crows will make me feel better. They didn't.
They won, though.
Oh, fuck them. No. Not like that.
All right, come on. We've got to fire it. We're getting revved up. Come on.
All right. So zones. Look, I think that even though Ben Hart's come out and said that we need more outside run and we're going to match them on the outside, I think that's a lot of shit. I think that we need to match them on the inside.
Yep.
And I think we need to turn it into a slog because it's the only way we win at the moment.
I do.
Yes.
I do agree. So if you look at their defence,
Yes.
it's pretty good. It's got a good mix of players. It's got some rebounding players. Zach Williams, Heath Shaw. Got some good tools. Phil Davis, obviously the general back there.
Haynes is their chop out in the air as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you look at our forward line, even though let's just replace Brad Crouch let's swap Brad Crouches and Douglas because that's obviously how it's going to work.
Why play funny buggers, by the way?
I don't know.
I don't know where they're going to play.
It's bloody stupid. It's stupid. It's so
everyone knows. Like all you're doing is making yourself look stupid.
And yeah, I agree. So, you'd imagine that Taylor takes Tex, I reckon, and Davis will take Jenkins.
Well, it's funny. Davis is going to know better than anyone who he should take because he's their best defender. So he's going to know better than anyone which of our forwards is going to be the most damaging.
Yeah.
On recent form, you're probably going to say Jenkins because Jenkins had a better game last week than what Tex did. But you might find that if that changes in the middle of the game, that Tex is getting on top, he might switch.
I mean, they'll probably swap around a little bit anyway.
But to be honest, Haynes has done a job on Tex before. And,
Yeah, I know.
So
it depends. I guess I reckon they'll be quite flexible in how they match up, and depending on who's playing what role at the time.
Because they've still got to find a match up for Lynch as well.
Well, yeah, that's right. My worry is our defensive pressure in the forward 50 because you've got some excellent rebounders in Williams and Shaw.
Yep.
And Kennedy's not bad either in that regard. And I think we only, again, had 5 tackles inside forward 50 last week. Now, Lockie Murphy's been retained. He looks busy. I actually am a fan of Lockie Murphy's, but over the last month, he's looked busy without much return.
He just needs to get back to kicking a couple of goals a game and having tackles. That's when he's most effective for us.
Yeah.
And when you've got blokes knocking down supposedly, not that anyone in the fucking coaching box would actually see, but we've got blokes in the twos knocking down the door in Stengel and McAdam who are doing those things. So if he's going to play, he needs to
hit the scoreboard.
Well, he just needs to provide those two things for us because that's what he's in the team to do.
That's his job.
And we're not dropping Eddie. Because it's Eddie.
Because Eddie.
Yeah. And
we saw Eddie in the last quarter.
Exactly.
Just went ting. He got a sniff and
went with it and basically won the game.
Yeah.
So
look, my concern is that defensive pressure. I think when we compare the Crows of 2017 with now, the big difference, in my opinion, is that we're missing Cameron and McGovern because both those players in 2017 were hitting tackles.
Yep.
They were chasing blokes down. Remember when McGovern first came in? It wasn't his marking that was the standout. It was the fact he was just steamrolling blokes.
Well, it wasn't
amazing.
just their tackling, but they would chase people down, and even if they got there a bit late, they'd put the shoulder into them. Yeah, and we don't have that anymore.
That's right.
No one in our team does that.
No. So I don't see much. Tex Walker doesn't have enough power or mobility to be a defensive presence up forward.
He still tackles in the contest.
He tries hard, but he's just limited in his movement.
Yeah, he's a big centre forward. He's not meant to be
with a bad knee.
Yeah,
Josh Jenkins, it's just not part of his game.
I did see him chase on the weekend, but again, he's a key forward. That's not what he's there for.
No.
You want him to still try, which I thought he did, but. Again, that's not what they're in the team for. You need your little blokes to be doing that.
Well, and I feel that the one aspect where Age is probably starting to really catch Eddie is in his defensive work.
He still does it. But
still does it, but he's just a yard off. His recovery is, you notice his recovery in his second effort, so it's tailed off a bit.
He's also talking a lot about just getting up for games, which tells me he's not training a lot.
Yeah.
I think that majority of his time is spent recovering, getting his body right, so then he can go and play.
Yeah. And let's face it, Eddie's a burst player.
Yeah.
He'll give you 20 minutes of magic, and that'll be enough.
And that's fine. That's all he's got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So... and that's where I think that the retention of Murphy is key, because if we're to win this game, we need to be able to lock the ball down forward and get repeat entries. And Lockie Murphy is going to be the one, along with our wingman, which we'll get to in a minute. Lockie Murphy is going to be the one that needs to apply that forward pressure, because Tommy Lynch won't do it. Tex won't do it. Josh won't do it.
Tom Lynch doesn't actually play in the forward.
No, he's out. Richie Douglas won't do it.
Well, Douglas needs to be honest.
But it's not quick enough.
No, but he needs to. I don't care if he's quick enough. He needs to make sure that he is part of that small forward brigade.
Do you see Richard Douglas imposing himself on a Heath Shaw or a Zach Williams? No.
Probably on Heath Shaw because he's the slowest.
Yeah, but he's also strong.
Nah.
Anyway.
I think that's actually a good matchup now that I think about it. Him on Shaw.
So anyway, I worry about not only our ability to kick a score, but our ability to hold the ball in forward off long enough to actually get enough opportunities to kick a score.
Yeah, I worry too.
Midfield though, let's talk about the midfield.
If we have to.
Right, forwards. No,
Look, on one side of the paper, which is on the right-hand side on this TV that we're looking at, which is the Giants, I see a balanced, well-oiled machine of a midfield.
Yes, Kelly,
you've got Delidio on the outside, you've got Caniglio, you've got Hopper who's a ball, you've got Taranto who's a ball.
De Boer who can lock down.
Like, it's just a balanced midfield. You've got Kelly who's your Rolls-Royce.
Yep.
Like, it's, again, balanced. It's a good working midfield. I look at ours, and it's slow. It's old. It's a bit beaten up. And we don't have a lot of outside run, really.
Nope.
Like, we've got Golden Boots out on one wing, and then we've got Luch on the other, who I think is still a little bit lucky to retain his spot. I know that he's
on output.
I still rate him, and I think he's in our best 22, but I think that, you know, his output has been down, and his pressure acts are good, so you give him that, but he needs to impact a bit more. I think that we need to see Miller in there a bit more. Yeah, I worry.
Well, I mean, when you look at the matchup, we've got a young ruckman, one key midfielder that's coming back from 3 weeks with a hip.
Yep.
We've got another bloke who half pinged a hammy last week.
Yeah.
We've got a 32-year-old. Well, let's discount Douglas because he'll be out for. We've got Brad Crouch, who, in my opinion, has been patchy. I know he's been getting a lot of the ball.
Look, Brad, and credit where credit's due, Brad had a statistically offensive, fantastic game last week, but I saw some pretty key moments where he didn't chase. In fact, he was standing hands on hips when the ball was not 5 meters from him in the opposition's hands. So Brad's offensive work, you can't fault it. Like, and really, we don't win that game unless he's playing last week because he kicked that clutch goal and, had a lot of touches and whatever. But tell you what, he lets a lot go the other way.
Defensively, he sucks.
Oh, he lets a lot go the other way.
And I would suggest defensively, our midfield sucks.
Yeah, well, we don't really have anyone that goes back that far. Sloane's probably the only one.
Well, and the bloke that's kind of been playing that defensive midfield role has been Gibbs.
Yeah, I know. Well, and Matt Crouch as well has played it
a little bit. Yeah. So, there's not a lot. When you compare the two, one looks like a premiership midfield, the other one doesn't.
Yep.
And I'm really disappointed that we haven't persisted with Huey, because I just feel like I'm with you that we need to keep the ball in close against this team, and there's too many avenues to the outside in that GWS midfield.
Huey likes the Giants as well. He always plays well against them.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe he's got a bit of a niggle, but he's named in the twos. Ben Art's come out and said that he's been dropped on form. It boggles my fucking mind.
Yeah.
There's about 10 other blokes in that team that I'd drop before him.
Yeah.
I'd even drop Tex before Hugh Greenwood. I know it's not a like for like, but I'm just saying, if form is the issue, there is a lot of other blokes in that team that deserve to be dropped then. Because he has not been our worst player by a mile.
And let's face it, our midfielders are the sum of the parts, and Huey is a key part of that. And yes, he has been a bit patchy and a bit in and out of games, but what he offers when he's in the game is key. His
X-factor.
His efforts in the last quarter, his ability to keep his feet, his ability to keep his arms free, and his ability not to panic under pressure and to actually move the ball decisively under pressure.
Well, he's the only one in a fucking forward line that can take a contested mark.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Jenkins does it sometimes, but Huey's the only one that you can confidently say when he goes up, he's going to grab that.
Yeah. So, and we spoke at length about Rory Atkins last week.
I don't want to give him any more airtime. He's a waste of oxygen.
Well, I agree. But the only thing that I'll say is that none of what we said last week was proven to be incorrect.
Look, the only thing I'll say about Atkins' game last week, it was the one positive that I took, is I thought that he tried hard to get contested ball. But he turned the ball over too much.
Except when he squibbed on marking contests that nearly cost us the game.
Yeah, but I'm talking about ground ball. You're right. He did scribble on that one. But he did make... I could see, and I've got to give credit where credit's due, I could see that he made a concerted effort on a few ground balls to go and get the agate, which was fantastic. But turned the ball over, made poor decisions, squibbed and squibbed on key moments.
Yep.
Like, does it... Like, marks the ball when he's standing on the mark. Fantastic. He then tries to step the bloke. What are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
Like, play the percentages, mate.
That's because he's got a big bloody opinion of himself. Anyway, so in short, our midfielder's up against it. And we haven't talked about ruck yet, but I think the only way, and we've talked about this before we started, but the only way you play Riley O'Brien this week with Sauce in touch and Riley kind of tailing off is that you're sacrificing your young ruckman so that your other ruckman will be right for Richmond in 5 days' time. Because there's no other reason you play an inexperienced ruckman against Shane Mumford when you've got Sauce back in form and jumping. He was jumping in the twos.
Well, that's it. He wasn't just in form. He looks fit again.
Yeah. So why against probably the toughest ruckman in the competition, who is feeding the best midfield in the competition, why are you playing Riley O'Brien instead of Sam Jacobs?
I could understand if Riley had been in stellar form.
Yeah.
But he's not.
No, he's tailing off.
Yeah. And look, he's been in reasonable form. He's not been
He's
bad.
been great.
Yeah, he's not been bad. And he's done a job. And look, we were first to discount him. And we've definitely had to eat our words on that one. But it doesn't make sense. Sam Jacobs is our number one ruckman. He played in the twos last week and tore up. He's fit. Why are we not playing him?
Well, if you use the argument to include Dougie, then surely you use the argument to include Jacobs.
Yeah.
And look, I will say about Riley O'Brien that when he came in, I said I think that he had 5 weeks to stake a claim.
Yep.
And I think he's staked a claim.
Yep.
I think he's shown, I think he's put his hand up to be the next Adelaide Crows number. Whether he is or not is another thing.
Yep.
But I don't think he did it. Yeah, he certainly has.
Yep.
So you can't bag the guy for that. But he is tailing off, just the same as Berg tailed off.
Yep. Well, he's played 10 games.
He's played 10 games. He's a kid. He's still a little bit light. This game was the game that Jacobs surely comes in as an experienced ruckman who's played against Mumford a lot of times. Knows him. Jacobs is in form. I'd really... It's lambs to the slaughter for Riley O'Brien.
Yeah, it feels that way. And look, this is just opinion. We could be wrong, and I hope we are wrong. I hope that they're backing Riley in to beat Mumford and give a bit of shit out in return because Riley's got that in him.
Yeah.
But I don't see it going that way. No,
not happening. No. Look down back. They've got an interesting forward line because I rate Harry Himmelberg a lot.
He is underrated as well, and they've got Finlayson who they've been throwing down there, who's been playing pretty well as well.
Yep. Tomlinson isn't bad either, and of course Cameron's been a good nick.
He's looking good.
Yeah.
Scary good.
Yeah.
Buddy good.
Yes, I agree.
Buddy good, yeah.
I agree. Cameron is really starting to impose himself in that forward line. He's made that forward line his own.
And he's finally fit. He's getting some continuity in. He's got his confidence up. He's kicking bags. He's taking grabs. He's dangerous at the moment.
It's a really good forward mix, in my opinion, because you've got Himmelberg, who's got wheels and good size, and he's aggressive at the ball.
Yep.
So he can get out and about.
Yep.
And then they leave that forward line pretty open for Cameron to work in.
Mm-hmm. Well, because why wouldn't you?
Yep. And then you've got Green sharking around, doing Toby Green, who might be out of touch, but just always tortures us.
Well, it's not just that, but he doesn't need a lot of touches to be damaging. No. Even out of form, Toby Green can still kick a couple of goals and do some pretty key things for them to win. So you never discount Toby Green.
No,
you never.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. So look, I think they're going to have their work cut out, and I think where we're going to have our work cut out is the fact that because I think there's going to be a fair bit of ball going into the GWS forward line.
Yep.
Our strength is our half-back line, but our half-back line are going to be pretty preoccupied with trying to keep those blokes quiet. And as a consequence, our bounce out of defence, I think, is going to be limited. And we saw that against Melbourne last week where when we were under the pump, our movement from the back half was just so slow
unless the ball was in the hands of Brodie Smith or Tom Lynch, we slow played. It seemed like those two, either by design or by nature, the only two that were willing to take the game on and kick the ball either down the middle or do that inside 45 kick to get the ball going.
Yeah. I think one-on-one, or look, Daniel Talia is really starting to concern. He actually had a really good block of games, but the last fortnight he seems to have fallen off a cliff. I don't know what the hell's going on.
He seems to be playing frustrated. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Maybe.
But because he's starting to do stuff that I've never seen him do. He's starting to have lapses in concentration. He's starting to hack kick. And I've never seen Talia do that. Talia was the type of player that in congestion, he would literally rather get caught holding the ball with the off chance that, he doesn't, than hack kick out of a pack.
Yeah.
Like, I saw him hack kick out of the pack down the middle of the ground.
Yeah. It was like defense 101.
Don't kick it down the middle of the ground when you're not looking where you're kicking. Kick it to the boundary.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? And he's been such a pillar of, I don't know, Consistency, that's the word. Yeah. Thank you. And calmness back there. And it really fucking concerns me that he's not.
It's cut you again.
Yeah.
You're emotional wreck this week.
I've been all over the shop. I'm hormonal.
Look, you know what I think? I think the fact that teams are making... And I think this is a selection mistake that we made last week.
Yeah, we dropped Hardigan.
Because we dropped Hardigan, the knock-on effect was that Alex Keith had to play one-on-one, which means that Talia had to play one-on-one.
Yep.
And I think our two tools work best when they've got the ability to have a third coming in over the top. We had it with Lever, we had it with Duday, and recently we've had it with Keith. Keith's in all-Australian discussion because of his ability to do that.
Yep.
And what we effectively did by dropping Hardigan is remove Alex Keith's strength to the seam.
And look, we seem to play Jack Kelly in that role, and it's probably no coincidence that he had his best game of the year, I thought.
I thought he had a good game defensively, but God, I wish he'd just handballed someone quickly.
Oh, I thought he did a few good things as well. And I know what you mean. He was doing this a lot. It's like, no, Jake. Like, there was one time he did it, he's like, yeah, you're right. But then he just kept doing it. It's like, no, move the ball quick, please. But yeah, you're right. And I think that Hardigan back is going to settle that down a bit. And hopefully that settles the entire backline down because, God, we look shaky when Talia's shaky.
Well, Jeremy Cameron reminds me a lot of Josh Kennedy for West Coast. Yeah. And Talia hates playing on Kennedy. And he's got a better record on Cameron, but Cameron's in good nick. Which means
Talia's
that...
not.
No, that's right. Which means that Hardigan is probably going to have to match up on Himmelberg, which is not a real good matchup. Because you'd imagine that Keith would be on Tomlinson.
Yeah, probably. And look, they don't really have matchups apart from the key post. And you'll probably see them all switch, and you'll probably see Jake Kelly on either of those three tools at certain points of the game as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you what. If Talia plays like that again, we're in trouble because Cameron will absolutely...
He'll kick 10.
He'll maul him if he plays like that.
He'll kick 10.
And look, it's a fair call on the bloke because this is probably the first time I've ever had anything negative to say about him because he's been, like I said, such a pillar of consistency. So, we'll give him one or two bad games, I think, but please don't have another one.
Well, and I think they were wrong to mess with the stability of our back six.
Especially bringing in D-Mac, who didn't look well. He didn't.
No, well, and it was obviously... It was very weird because it was as if they thought that Melbourne was small up forward.
But they're not.
They're not. No. And it was just an odd... It's like they hadn't done their homework.
And again, we've already said it, but D-Mac was sick. We've taken him up to the NT, where it's typically hard to play. When you come back from illness, anyone that's ever played sport will know when you come back from illness, you always feel not great.
Well, and you're dehydrated anyway, and then you're going up to the Darwin sweat box.
Yeah, and you're lethargic, you got no energy because you're not 100% right. And he looked it. He looked slow.
Yeah.
And he wasn't his usual start of the year self.
Yeah.
And there was pictures of him on the bench, and he could have just been tired, and I might be reading into it, but he heads in hands like this.
Yeah.
And coughing his ringer.
Yeah. So, I mean, and obviously Lukey Brown is going to have a big task. He's going to be the one to go to Green.
Yeah.
Green's got hold of him once or twice in the past, but I don't see any other.
He's also done some good jobs on Green in the past as well.
Yeah.
They have a good battle every time.
Yeah. So, and Brown looks like he's fully recovered and has been playing his usual consistent self.
Yep.
But his work on keeping Green quiet is going to be quite pivotal.
Yep.
But I think the biggest worry for me, apart from obviously if Cameron gets off the chain, is, as I mentioned earlier, the ability of Smith and Miller to continue to be creative off that half back line, despite having to be playing fairly close to their blokes. Because I do think the ball's going to spend a fair amount of time with the Giants' attack.
You know what? I don't actually mind that as long as they're not scoring.
Yeah.
If we can chop out, that actually probably suits us because that's where we get all our run from, and we can play that slingshot footy. But God, that means we're going to rely on Smith a fair bit. But look, we'll get to him in a minute.
Well, and no, we're there now. Oh, no, we're not there now. We're not there now. The other thing is too that we haven't got the same midfield setup, which means that we don't have those blokes dropping back. That's what worries me. The fact that our one-pace midfield is not going to be working back hard enough to help our defenders.
No. Matt Crouch is going to have to be the one, and
he's just not going to be.
Well, he's not fit. Well, we don't know that for sure, but
he's had a hip, so he couldn't have been doing much more than light running.
You can't really do much with a hip.
Exactly.
And you lose your match fitness pretty quick at this level.
And he does. Yeah, notoriously
takes a few weeks. This is why selection, like I said, what the actual fuck is literally the only... thing that I can say.
All right. Well, look, let's talk about some key players, shall we?
All right. Are you going to start first with the Giants?
I will. And I think the first key player is Shane Mumford.
I think the big mummy.
The big mum. Look, I expect him to do an absolute job on Riley O'Brien.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he won't. He's been playing that way for the last couple of weeks.
He's playing angry.
Playing aggressive.
Yeah.
He's a big bloke. Riley O'Brien has not been good at centre bounces, but he hasn't been bad around the ground. But I think Mumford is the type of guy that will just get hold of him around the ground as well, at ruck throw-ins and like boundary throw-ins and stoppage work. He is key for the Giants because he services that midfield. He can get forward as well.
Yeah. And look, I think that the only other one that comes to mind that's sort of in the same league is the type of physicalness that Mummy brings is Lysette, and O'Brien okay against Lysette, but I think that Mummy will probably get a hold of him a bit more than what Lysette
I think did. Mumford's a lot more aggressive physically than Lysette. So Mumford for me is a key. Cameron, we already touched on. If he gets off the chain,
and we just don't have a good matchup for him. That's the concerning.
And thing. I really liked your comparison to Buddy because he is playing like that. He's leading aggressively.
Yep.
He's strong in his hands. He wheels around onto the left. Back, It's beautiful.
Yep.
So he.
The only thing will save us if he's on, if he gets the yips, because he does have a tendency sometimes to spray a few.
Yeah.
And he gets in his own head when he misses the first couple. So if he's on early, that's the only thing that's going to save us if he can't kick straight.
Yeah. And the third one for mine is Phil Davis.
Yeah.
Because one of the keys, I think, to us having any chance of kicking a winning score is one of our key posts getting off the chain a bit.
Yeah. Jenkins has got to be the one, I think.
Jenkins has got to be the one you would think.
Yeah.
And therefore, for GWS, Phil having a big game, he likes a bit of chirp with his ex-Adelaide boys.
He gets around it.
And, him and Tex have had a few...
Yeah.
And all that aside, our boys have just got to ignore all that shit.
Yep.
But...
Or, if you're the type of player that feeds off of it, feed off it in a positive way.
Yeah. I think sometimes Tex gets a little bit caught up in it all and forgets to actually play the ball. But anyway, so I think if Phil Davis is on and he keeps Jenkins quiet, that goes a long way towards them holding us to a losing score.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that, to be honest.
Thank you.
That's probably the first time ever that I've said that to you.
Yeah, it is too.
In reference to your own opinion.
Get on with it.
All right. So look, for us, we've already sort of talked about him just then, but I think down forward we need a bag from JJ. I sort of called him out last week and said that we needed a big performance from him. I thought we got enough out of him considering the situation, but again, we need him to carry on. We can't just have him go back into his shell. We need him crashing packs. We need him imposing himself physically. If he goes into the middle, we need the same again on the ground level, like he did a little bit. And then we also need him to kick some goals. And for God's sake, Josh, kick straight, please.
I was just about to say that,
Kick straight. Because because what did he have? 2 goals, 4? And all of a sudden, he's had 6 shots on goal. If he kicks 5 goals, 1, he's had a blinder.
Well, and the thing that has really dropped off in Jenkins's game has been his set shot kicking.
Yeah, he used to be...
And it's because he does the flick and the this, and he's very loose.
He's always been like that, though, and it's never affected him. And you're dead right. His set shots have really tailed off. And I think it actually hurt us in the early part of that game because he had a few early shots that if you just put them away, it would have put us right in touch. Not that it mattered, but we won. But still, if he kicks 4 goals 2 or 5 goals 1 instead of 2 goals 4, it's a massive turnaround in his output, and we'd be singing his praises right now. So I really need Josh to do more of the same, but kick straight.
I'm not going to put my coach's hat on, but you know me.
Well, then don't.
Well, I'm going to.
Hang on a minute. You said you weren't.
The problem with... I'm all for allowing blokes to have their own kicking style, right? But the problem with Jenkins's kicking style is that it's not very far off from falling apart. It's like a goal swing technique. If the looser it is, the easier it is to fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
And the problem with Jenkins is that when he's a little bit off, he goes chasing the ball.
Yeah.
And because he's doing that, you'll notice that everything he does goes out to the right because he's chasing that ball with his ball drop. And I just wish that someone would just say, yeah, you can do your little thing, but just like make it a bit more compact.
And he's one that he should be... And I'll put my coach's hat on. Should be because he actually lines his shoulders up to where he kicks, and I've noticed that he's starting to line up that way as well.
Yeah.
So the reason why he's kicking out there is because that's where he's facing.
Because he does that little sideways hop.
Yeah,
and
I don't mind that because he's
but he doesn't align himself back up.
You can do that to get momentum. I've got no issue with that because that's actually quite smart. It's sort of like what Ben Brown does, except not
a bit of a trigger,
not a 70-meter runner.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I've noticed that he doesn't square his shoulders up to where he's kicking, and he sort of comes around a bit.
He needs to kick straight. Because...
Maybe we should just go down to Westlakes and be like, Josh, just come here, mate. I'll just line you up straight. Well, I'll be standing behind him. He'll be up here.
I heard...
Just line your shoulders.
Just forget the goals, Josh. Just kick to the bloke at the back of the stand. I've heard that Treaders has been down helping Tex out. You'd think he'd get around a bit of JJ for an extra 50.
What the fuck is Treadray doing down there? How did they let him in the bloody oval? Nah, get out of there. No wonder he can't kick.
Tex has been being helped out by Treadray.
I thought it was Carey. I think you got your bias
maybe
crossed.
It was Carey.
It wasn't Treadray. It was Carey.
Treadray has been down there helping Tex at some stage. But I think you're right. This time it's Carey.
Yeah, it's Carey this time.
Yeah.
No,
anyway, doesn't matter.
Don't let Treadray give goal kicking advice. That bloke couldn't kick to save his life.
Who else?
What did I get up to? Oh, yeah. So the other one that I had as well, and again, we talked about him briefly, was Smith.
Yeah.
So on the weekend, the only time that we looked at all dangerous was when Smith had the ball in his hands rebounding out of defensive 50. I think that he's in really, really good touch. He's probably been one of our best so far. And he's really enjoying that freedom that he's got back in his body, I think.
Yeah.
And I just need him to have 20 touches and about 700 metres gained. Otherwise, we've got no hope.
Yep, I agree with that.
No hope.
Key ingredient.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if Miller, bobs up. It doesn't matter if Letty bobs up. When he does what he does best and gets those metres gained and gets about 20 posies, we look $1 million going forward. And, we'll struggle if he doesn't. And if they're smart, they'll sit on him. Yep,
I agree. Well, and I think, actually, that they will.
Yeah, well, I think Perryman is the one.
Yeah,
Perryman normally plays down back for him.
Yeah.
And the last one as well, and again we mentioned him earlier, but was Tom Lynch. He was the other one that looked good. Made us look good when we were going forward. When Lynchy was getting busy and being the linchpin, as everyone calls him, we looked much, much better. And it's no surprise that when we go from Smith to Lynch to the forward line, our forward entries are silk.
Yeah.
When we don't go through those players, we look shit.
Yeah, because we're catching the opposition out of position because we're actually covering ground.
Lynchy's looking fit again. Like, he was looking really slow for a while there. And I was actually worried that he might have been actually slowing down because of his age. But he seems to have found that yard back again. He's got his engine back working. His skills have been a little bit meh at times, but they've been good enough. I just need him to do more of the same again. And if he doesn't, will also
Well,
struggle.
the other thing with Lynch is he has been kicking goals as well, which is always a bonus because he does play so high.
Well, that's when we know he's playing well, is when he kicks goals.
Yeah, because he's up and back.
Yep.
Yep.
He's working. And when he has that, again, 20, 25 posies and a couple of goals, we've normally won the game.
Yep.
Normally. And again, if they're smart, they'll watch him pretty closely. And see, this is the unfortunate thing. Well, not the unfortunate thing, but the annoying thing about our team. We've got 3 or 4 players that if you sit on and you nullify them, we're fucked.
That's right. Well, that's right.
Yeah.
We're very easy to play
And
against.
we're supposed to be some of the parts, but we're actually not. We've got 3 or 4 really key players to our structures and our ball movement.
And then a bunch of role players.
And if they don't play well, we're in trouble.
Yeah. And, look, as a general comment, as I just said, it makes it easier to play against.
Yeah, it does.
All right. So, how do we win?
Just turn it into an absolute freaking shit fight. It's the only way we've got to hope, I think.
Leon Cameron, I think, is just going to say, boys, go out and run.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to address anything particular from... I think there's a couple of players from the Crows, like, as you mentioned, Smith and Lynch, that they'll keep an eye on.
Yep.
But I think they're travelling well enough at the moment
Just
that Cameron can just go, look, let's play our style.
Let's go out and play your
which
game.
is hard, aggressive footy inside.
Yep.
Hard running outside, good rebound off the back, and tight defence.
Just get it into Jeremy's hands.
And get it down forward.
Yep.
And if they... I think if the Giants get enough forward entries, probably 45 plus forward entries for the Giants wins them the game.
I think 45, well, they don't all have to be, but 45 clean entries is the key there. And I think that's sort of a segue into about what we need to do to win.
Yeah.
We need to turn it into a hot, contested game. We need to keep the ball inside. But if it does get out, we need to work our absolute asses off to influence the ball carrier. So we need to be manic pressure, and we need to make sure that any time that they get the ball out, that they've got either a bloke coming front way or a bloke hot on their tail, putting them under the pump so that they don't get easy kicks into the forward line.
So who's going to provide that manic pressure?
It's going to have to be Luch, and it's going to have to be blokes like Sloan, Matt Crouch, and Brad. And I know that they don't. Not all of them will, but they have to.
I meant to mention this guy when we're talking about selection, but in my opinion, this game was tailor-made for Chase Jones.
Yeah.
A young kid who's quick and is aggressive and has intensity at the ball.
Yep.
We're looking for speed and aggression.
Yep.
I would have had Chase in over Richard Douglas 1,000 times over, simply because of his ability to play tight, to influence a contest, and to provide a bit of pace on the outside.
Yeah, well, it quickens us up. And the other one that I didn't mention as well is Miller is the other one as well. When he goes into the midfield, we really need that defensive run. And you're 100% right. Chase would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't see us... If we turn it into a shootout or get forced into a shootout, we get pumped. But if we've got any hope of winning, we've got to keep the ball on the inside. We've got to play the territory game like we keep banging on about every week. But we've also got to add an element of pressure. And we can't let that ball out of our forward 50 when it gets down there. If we have shallow entries, again, like we did last week, and don't defend it on the way out, we'll get cut apart.
I agree with you.
With Shaw and Williams down there, we'll get absolutely cut apart coming out.
I agree with you.
Because we get caught out of position easy as it is when it's that shallow.
Yeah.
And we've got ball carriers like Shaw and Williams.
Yeah.
No.
I would love to see them play the forward structure that basically says to Josh Jenkins, I don't want you out past 30 metres. And Tex and Lynch, you're starting from that 30-metre mark and you're leading up. And then you've got your smalls coming in the front to lock in. Yeah. If the ball comes in high, Lynch and Walker are turning back around.
Yeah. Or setting up.
Yeah, exactly.
Or setting up to stop it on the way out.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what I mean. Because at the moment it doesn't seem right. It's not working. And like you said, because our entries are so shallow, they bounce out so quick. But not only does it bounce out quick, it bounces out quickly in dangerous positions. You know, we open up the corridor, or one side's completely open, and
if everyone's out of position,
exactly.
But and I don't think I'll see it happen, but I'd just really love to play a form of Pagan Paddock with Jenkins. I really would, or even Tex, to be honest. Just clear them out and just let them have the free run of the forward line. And if then the Giants decide, well, we're just going to sit 2 in the hole, then you're going to have 2 blokes that you can kick shallow to that'll be by themselves. So all you've got to do is park Jenkins in the square, clear everyone out, put Walker and Lynch high with the
And
other
just stick
half
Betts
forward,
in front of him.
and just stick Betts next to him, and just say, "Hey Eddie, go to work," and then you have Murphy coming back in when the ball comes in.
It actually seems like, when you say it like that, it's such an easy plan.
It's not.
When you've got someone like Eddie Betts, all you've got to do is stick it on a tall guy's head. They're going to shit themselves because they know that little seagull Eddie's flying around.
Yep.
It's such an easy thing to... Ben Hart, if you're listening...
I hope he's not, because I called him a fuckwit before, I think.
Well, but it does seem like it's that easy, and I've become so frustrated with our forward setup because it doesn't have to be as hard as playing forward isn't actually as difficult as what our blokes are making it out to be.
Easiest spot on the ground.
I think so.
Speaking from a backman, but the easiest spot on the ground.
All you've got to do is start yourself in the right position and identify the spots that you want to run to.
Yep.
That's all it is. And as a small forward, if you know those spots, then you know where to be at the ball drop.
And you can even have Murphy down there as well, because as long as you've got your half forwards setting up, he can be down there as well. It's not hard. And then if it doesn't work and you don't want to hit, or they drop one back in to hold a sag off, there's going to be a free player somewhere else, and that's when you lower the eyes.
Yep.
And
that's when you become unpredictable.
Yeah, because you don't know which way it's going to go. Yeah.
And I've got to say, that's how we were playing in 2017. We had options. We'd push up high and go over the back, or we'd have strong leads.
Did notice that creep into our game a little bit actually on the weekend, which was positive, but I need more of it.
Could have been an accident.
Nah, because because it was Jenkins both times.
He might have tripped over.
What do you mean?
And just gotten out of position. And...
rolled 50 metres up the ground? Don't think so, mate. Don't think so. But I did see, I think it was deliberate, because every time it was Jenkins, which is good, because I thought we weren't playing that way because teams had cottoned onto it, but it doesn't seem to be that at all. It just seems to be that we're not playing that way. So hopefully Jenkins gets that going again as well. But
maybe it's just an option. Anyway, so look, after all that, come on, mate, stick with us. We only got a minute or two to go. And people are going to get fired up.
Yeah.
Tips?
We lose by 10 goals.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm fearful.
Yeah.
I'm fearful.
Look, I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't.
Look. Yeah. Neither of us want the Crows to lose, but we're trying to provide something that's credible and genuine and honest opinion. And I fear for our midfield. I think we can work enough inside, sort of work enough forward and back, but I fear for our midfield because it just does not look like it's the right personnel.
No.
And the right mix of attributes to be able to trouble GWS.
All right, so we've talked a whole lot of negatives, so I'm just going to bring a bit of positive in. All right. So GWS have only ever beaten us once at Adelaide Oval.
Yes.
We typically play pretty well against them.
Yes.
The only time they've ever beaten us at home was when we had half a team.
Rabble.
Yep. Yeah. Our midfield in the past has matched up well on their midfield, regardless of physical attributes.
Yes.
The average winning margin would be about 500 points because we used to belt them all the time.
Yeah.
They have, in the past, struggled with our forward line. Mm-hmm. So there are a few key things there that work in our favour. So those things need to play out in our favour if we're going to win, obviously.
All right, 8 goals.
No, I said win. I said win.
Right.
Yeah, if we're going to win.
I think our midfield's the weakest it's been for some time.
I don't think it's weak. I just think it's unbalanced.
Well, that's a fair... Yeah, there's a lack... not a very good mix at the moment. Miller, I think, could have easily been one of your keys, actually, because I think...
Yeah, I was tossing up between him and Smith, to be honest. Yeah.
Because I think for us to have any chance of winning our fair share of quality clearances, he's got to have an influence not only at the centre bounces, but where Wayne hasn't really been impacting is at stoppage work.
Yeah, he's not. And it's funny, we called him out a couple of weeks ago, I think, to have a bit of a breakout game. Might have even been last week. And he didn't really have one. He's not quite there yet. And he was a bit, not non-existent, but he didn't really have much of an impact last week, I didn't think.
I felt he went back into his shell a bit and played a bit timid rather than taking the game on.
Yeah, I thought so as well, which is a bit disappointing because he's quite exciting when he's up and about. So I hope that he sort of recaptures that, taking the game on, sort of breakneck footy that he plays.
We're doing our best here. We're doing our best. I'm sorry. We get scorched in this one.
Yeah.
I can't. I'd love us to win. And I'll be barracking as hard as anyone else. But my head is telling me that we're going to get scorched, and that's my tip.
And look, I'm negative because they pissed me off last week.
That's
and
fair.
this week with selection.
Hugh.
Yeah. Oh, don't mess with Hugh. He's my boy.
Yeah. Well, I said that I actually wouldn't support the Crows until Rory Atkins got dropped. So how do you reckon I'm going?
You bought your Giants guarantee yet? Or?
Yeah. All right. Well, look, that's it for the Rev Up. We hope.
Fucking done, man.
Oh, no. He's out. But look, thanks very much for watching us. Thanks very much to Smith Partners Real Estate, Down to Earth Electrical, and all our supporters on Patreon. Don't forget, if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/AFL CrowCast, or you can go to our website, aflcrowcast.com, and click on the orange button. The wrap show will be on at the usual time at 7 p.m. So join us then. Myself and Macca and Nikki will be on to hopefully talk about an amazing, famous win that kickstarts our season. Cameron?
Not going to happen.
Right. But until then, thanks very much for watching.